Two dangerous storms are coming, but with a surprising twist. Back-to-back winter storms are about to impact tens of millions of people with widespread heavy snow and potentially significant severe weather making a return. The first winter storm will arrive today. After slamming the West Coast with flooding rainfall and extreme mountain snow, it will once again develop into a powerful storm across the northern tier of the United States. Several inches of snow are expected across the upper Midwest and Northeast, with some ice possible. But our second storm will be far more impactful. This winter storm will take a more southern track, which will put way more people at risk of heavy snow and a very rare severe weather threat. In fact, the Storm Prediction Center has growing confidence in a few tornadoes happening on Thursday across a very large part of the Ohio Valley. Over the next few days, we are expecting several large storms to impact the United States. And one of the biggest reasons why is because we have so much moisture coming out of the Pacific right now. And this is all from a very intense storm system that has been impacting the West Coast, including California, over the last couple of days, dumping a lot of mountain snow and also bringing even some rare severe weather to areas near Los Angeles, California. And over the next few days, all that moisture is going to be transported over the Rockies. And eventually, we are just going to have a large plume of very moist air for this time of the year across the northern plains, the Midwest, and the Ohio Valley. This is going to set up a winter storm today into tomorrow from the northern plains back into the northeast. And then once we go into Wednesday and Thursday, we are anticipating yet again another surge of moisture to make its way back into the Ohio Valley and the Deep South. And this is when we could see a rare setup where severe weather and also heavy snow is going to be on the table. So things are going to get very interesting over the next 5 days. And once we go into the weekend is when a lot of dry and cold air is going to be on the backside of this large storm system. And that is what's going to bring some very cold air. We're going to be talking about an Arctic blast on Sunday into Monday, and that's going to reach all the way down into Florida. You can see how dry it's going to be by Monday. We are going to have a huge blob of dry air. However, there could be a little bit of rare snowfall sometime around Saturday or Sunday before all that dry air sneaks in. Let's talk about all these large storms that'll be impacting the country over the next 7 days. And we'll begin with the future radar. Right now we have heavy snow that is impacting the Rockies, the Sierra Nevada, the Cascades. We have heavy rainfall from San Diego back into western Oregon. And eventually, as we go later into today, we are going to have a very large storm system developing across the northern plains. And that is all because we have a lot of moisture that is surging over the Rockies. And that's going to lead to a significant winter storm tonight into tomorrow across the northern plains and the upper Midwest. Before that happens, I do want to point out that it is going to be very windy throughout the daytime today. So in the Midwest, central and southern plains, be ready for high winds. That is because of a very tight pressure gradient that is developing. That is because we have a very strong low-pressure system, very strong high-pressure system. Right in the middle of that, we have a very tight area of pressure, and that's going to lead to high wind gusts throughout the day today. And unfortunately, this is not a good thing, because we have very dry conditions in place across the central and southern plains, especially in northeastern Colorado, where it's very low humidity and very high winds. And you know what that means? We have extremely critical fire condition risk today in some of these areas. So, dangerous fire conditions are expected today, and they will persist into tomorrow. Once we go into tonight, we will continue to get hammered by heavy snow. If you're back over in the Sierra Nevada, there were dozens of accidents yesterday. And then also back over in Los Angeles and San Diego, moderate to heavy rainfall will continue. We'll have a large winter storm developing across the northern plains, especially impacting areas like Saskatchewan, where heavy snowfall will be ongoing. 2 to 3 inches of snow per hour could fall at times. And then once we go into the early Wednesday morning time frame, heavy snow will stretch all the way from the upper peninsula of Michigan back over into North Dakota. There could even be some isolated strong storms during the daytime on Wednesday across parts of Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, even back into parts of Pennsylvania. So, very interesting stuff there. By Wednesday afternoon and evening, we're not anticipating significant winter storm conditions in the Northeast. However, there will be some periods of moderate to heavy snowfall in a very thin corridor from Syracuse, New York, back towards Boston, Massachusetts. Light snowfall will continue Wednesday afternoon across parts of Minnesota as that low-pressure system weakens. Now, this is not the main winter storm. It's actually going to be the system behind it. This one will not bring nearly as much snowfall, but it is going to bring a much better shot of significant severe weather. We could actually have tornadoes on Thursday in parts of the Ohio Valley, which hardly ever happens in the month of February. On top of that, there could be another storm behind that one, and that could actually bring snow a bit further down to the south. This is what it's going to look like as we go into Thursday morning. That large winter storm will very quickly fizzle across the upper Midwest and the Northeast. Only light snow showers will remain. Our next intense storm system will make its way over the Rockies Thursday morning. This picture here is about 7 in the morning on Thursday. Interesting setup that we're going to have. We're going to have cold air coming out of Canada. We'll have moist air coming out of the Gulf. And that's all going to meet over here in the Ohio Valley and the Midwest on Thursday, which could trigger a rare February severe weather threat across these areas. Further off to the north and west, there will be some snowfall across parts of Nebraska and South Dakota. These are areas that have hardly had any snowfall so far this winter. And unfortunately, if you're looking for big snowfall, this is really not going to be your event. It's going to be very light snowfall for most of these areas. But once we go into Thursday afternoon, this is where things get a lot more interesting. We are going to have an area of thunderstorms across the Ohio Valley that will be capable of producing some severe weather. Storms are basically going to fire somewhere here in western Illinois sometime during the afternoon and back over towards Louisville in Kentucky. And this is where we're expecting a few supercells to form if we have enough moisture and instability, which right now forecasts are showing that we will. If things change by even a degree or two in terms of our dew point, it could be the make or break between us seeing tornadoes and us seeing nothing. So keep in mind, there is a possibility this busts, but there's also a possibility it could be a very high ceiling event where we see several tornadoes in these areas. But during the afternoon and evening is when we're expecting some supercells to form, and these could be capable of producing a couple of tornadoes. Once we go into late Thursday night, early Friday, the storm system will continue to march to the east. Some showers and thunderstorms will continue even as far north as eastern Michigan, but all the way back down towards Louisiana. Moderate to heavy snowfall will be ongoing in a very confined area in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Friday morning, this storm will move off to the east. We'll see a little bit of snowfall also make its way into parts of New York and even back over into New England. And then behind this is going to be another weak storm system. And this one's very interesting because if it does pan out the way I think it will, it could actually bring some snowfall. It will not be significant, at least as of right now. It's not forecasted to be significant, but we actually could have some light snow showers late Friday into early Saturday, pretty much anywhere where I just circled. But the big question mark for this storm system is how intense will it be? Because the European model doesn't really have this doing much of anything as more of a severe weather setup really, more than anything in the southeast on Friday and early Saturday. And that snow system kind of dissipates pretty quickly, and it doesn't really turn into much. However, if we go over to the GFS model, which is another model that we use a lot for winter weather activity, it has a very different evolution of this storm system, indicating some severe storm potential across the southeast late Friday. A more organized area of snowfall stretching from Oklahoma back into the lower Midwest and across parts of the Ohio Valley on Saturday, and then eventually turning into a pretty significant northeast winter storm on Sunday. So, there's two different scenarios here right now, and both of them are very interesting. One of which is a lot less interesting if you want snowfall, showing very limited snowfall. The other one is showing a much larger and more widespread snow event. And things will likely continue to change over the next few days as we are going to be watching again several storm systems moving over the Rockies. This is not just one single storm. Going slightly more in detail about our severe weather setup for Thursday. The Storm Prediction Center has issued a slight risk of severe weather for areas like Cincinnati, Louisville, back into central Illinois and Indiana. There's also a marginal threat that just surrounds this area, including areas like Clarksville and Tennessee, back over towards Indianapolis. The biggest concern right now for Thursday is expected to be damaging winds, large hail, and the possibility of a few tornadoes. This does have the capability of again being a bit more of a significant severe weather setup. It could also be a lower-end day where really nothing happens. It's going to come down to those ingredients that we've been talking about here over the last few minutes. So definitely stay weather aware if you're in this area. Wouldn't be surprised if we got an upgrade down the road, or if this risk area did grow. Here's a slightly more detailed breakdown on the timing of our severe weather setup for Thursday. Generally speaking, our environment is going to be favorable for tornadoes if the temperatures are high enough, and also enough instability is in place. And we also have to have enough moisture. Dew points have to be near 60 degrees. All three of those things need to come together. It does at least appear possible that that's going to happen. And sometime around 1, 2, 3 o'clock, we are going to start to see some supercells trying to initiate here across parts of central Illinois, near Springfield and Bloomington, back over towards southern Indiana, near Louisville, and also towards Cincinnati, Ohio. And this is where there could be some storms capable of damaging winds, hail, and maybe even a few tornadoes. And notice that I'm using very cautious wording like might or could happen. And the reason why is that there is still uncertainty with this event. But if all of the ingredients come together, we could see a tornado outbreak in the Ohio Valley on Thursday. It's definitely not something that we can rule out quite yet. In terms of total snowfall accumulation over the next 7 to 10 days, we are expecting the most significant snow out of this first winter system to be across the far northern plains and the upper Midwest, very far northeastern parts of Minnesota. We'll pick up as much as 1 to 2 feet of snow, with blizzard conditions being possible. Our second winter storm will more likely than not bring snowfall to areas like Nebraska, back into the upper Midwest. I am anticipating at least a widespread 3 to 6 inches of snow. Some localized areas could easily pick up more than that. The Northeast as well will be getting hammered by snowfall over the next several days. The best shot of that will be Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And then this is where uncertainty grows. Yes, there is a possibility of snow a bit further down to the south. Little Rock has a possibility of snow this weekend. Oklahoma City has a possibility, maybe even Nashville. Again, all these areas are possible for snowfall. But I do want to make this clear. This is not a milk and bread emergency. You do not have to go race to the store right now because we're going to have 25 inches of snow in Nashville, Tennessee. That is not what this is. This is going to be no more than a coating to maybe a couple of inches in many spots, and it's very uncertain even if we're going to see that as of right now. It's at least possible this weekend again in some of these areas. But I do have a lot of intrigue right now what's going to happen in the Northeast. And I do have some confidence there that we could see some big snowfall over the next 7 days. And I do have some good news for winter lovers. We are anticipating an Arctic air mass to make its way into the country by the end of the weekend. But for right now, record-breaking heat is currently impacting the central and northern plains. Temperatures as much as 30 to 40 degrees above average. So very warm conditions right now. A weak cold front will make its way across these areas by Thursday and Friday. Temperatures will be back close to normal, and then once we go into Sunday and Monday is when that Arctic air is going to spill out of Canada, moving down to the southeast. Temperatures will be as much as 20 to 30 degrees below normal once we go into Monday morning. So, it's going to be very cold across these areas. It's not quite time yet to put your jacket away for the rest of the winter and also spring. And then, once we go into the middle and end of next week, things become more uncertain. But I do think the Northeast and the Great Lakes should remain around or just below normal, and then anywhere else will likely be around or just above normal for this time of the year. The storm train pattern that is developing represents a particularly dangerous meteorological setup where multiple systems follow similar tracks in rapid succession, each one potentially reinforcing the impacts of the previous system. This type of pattern creates compounding effects that can overwhelm infrastructure and emergency response capabilities, especially when the systems bring different types of hazards ranging from heavy snow to severe thunderstorms and tornadoes. What makes this situation particularly noteworthy is the rare combination of winter weather threats and severe weather potential occurring simultaneously across different regions of the country during a time of year when such events are typically much less common. The February tornado potential across the Ohio Valley represents an especially unusual development that requires careful monitoring and preparation. The uncertainty in the forecast models regarding the weekend storm system highlights the challenges forecasters face when dealing with complex atmospheric patterns involving multiple interacting systems. Small changes in timing, track, or intensity of any one system can have cascading effects on subsequent systems, making long-range forecasting particularly challenging during active pattern periods like this one.